All right. What do we got here?
All right. So earlier this offseason, Ryan Poles put out the quote saying that this is going to be a difficult roster to make. After seeing what you saw yesterday, do you gain anything towards Ryan Poles being correct in that assumption?
I can't judge based on yesterday.
I can't either. No.
I still need more pass rushers, and I still need more offensive linemen.
I think it depends on the position you play, whether or not it'll be a difficult team to make. I think the running back room, there are going to be some difficult decisions.
Defensive back, very difficult to make.
It'd be very hard to make the group back there because they're so talented. I'll put it this way, Tyler. I think the overall talent pretty much at every spot is better than it has been. So it's going to be a harder roster to make. But if you're an offensive or defensive lineman, I think that there's still room to grow and there's still places where you can win a job.
Yeah.
Speaking of that running back room, we did see Roschon Johnson get the first crack at it yesterday, and then Khalil Herbert also got some action in there as well. How do you think the yardage percentage-wise divvies up among DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert?
Is Khalil Herbert even on the team?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like
I think if Khalil Herbert, as you said, is returning kicks, he's on the team. If they, for whatever reason, are married to having Velus Jones back there, then I think Khalil Herbert is on the bubble.
Well, don't you think he's married to be back there since they didn't play him yesterday?
Probably so.
If he's competing for a job, didn't that show you that he would have played? That by not playing him, they basically told you he's already the starter.
I would think that's the case. And like he wasn't in uniform, but Roschon Johnson, who was their draft pick, and Khalil Herbert were, which tells you that there's a competition there, right?
Yes.
That's how I read it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but to your point, DeAndre Swift will run for 1,000 yards. It's what he did last year against as the running back for the Eagles.
You needed 3 last year, and as the caller pointed out earlier when he called in, like there was a game, whether it was the Washington game, there was one game where the Bears didn't have all 3 of their running backs up. Remember, Deontay Foreman was inactive for a couple games, and they didn't have a running back at the end of the football game. So I think you're going to need all 3 guys. DeAndre Swift, in part of his career, part of the story has been he's been banged up. I think you'll regret more letting a guy like Khalil Herbert go than losing. Will you ever lose sleep if you lose? I mean, you're never going to lose sleep if you lose Velus Jones.
No, I'm not. I won't lose sleep.
Will anybody besides Ryan Poles?
I don't know.
Hasn't Ryan Poles also built up enough goodwill between now and when he drafted Velus Jones, where if you move on from him, we're kind of like, all right.
Tyler, I'm with you. I can't imagine that this is keeping Velus Jones only because you're protecting your own legacy as a general manager and he was your first offensive pick. Look, he segued away from Chase Claypool quickly. Acknowledge that it wasn't a good decision. I don't think.
And that technically cost him a higher draft pick than Velus because he gave up a 2nd-round pick for him.
Right. So that leads me to believe that they believe that he is an asset for them.
As a returner and what? As like a gadget guy in the backfield? What are they thinking?
That's the only thing I can imagine. And that to me is what, I mean, if you're going to play Tyler Scott, he can do the jet sweeps.
So what the question was how is the yardage going to divvy up?
Yeah.
Rushing only?
Rushing only, yes.
I'll go 1,050 for DeAndre Swift. I'll go 480 for Roschon and 350 for somebody else.
910 for Swift. I'll go 550 for Roschon, and I'll go 450 for Khalil Herbert.
So you have him keeping all of them?
Yes.
All right. One of the things that I noticed yesterday, and we kind of brought up a little bit earlier on the show, but the field conditions at the Hall of Fame game were atrocious. And this was before the rain kicked in and really made things slick out there. But you saw guys slipping left and right. And for me personally, I thought, I'm glad that starters did not play yesterday because I don't want to put my guys out there on a field like that. If the Bears happen to be playing the Giants or Jets on the road in the preseason, would you let them take the field at MetLife?
You brought this up to us in the pre-show fist fight. I'm like, oh, how did your mind get there yesterday? Like you were just looking at the bad field conditions and you're like, well, which has the worst field conditions in the NFL?
Well, it's just because MetLife is notoriously known for having the brutal field conditions that you see all these guys go down. I mean, it's one of those things where the NFLPA is like tried to get involved with this stuff too.
Speaking of that, though, if in fact that field last night was as bad as we're surmising, then shame on the NFL and the Players Association and everyone involved. Because I get it, you weren't playing your ones, but you're playing guys that are going to be part of your team. Cairo Santos was out there.
Or guys
Roshan Johnson was out there.
Guys fighting for their football lives too.
Yeah, I mean, the league. Shame on if the field was that bad and you made them play. Shame on you. That was my overriding feeling. If the field, listen, this is a $15 billion a year entity. If that field isn't up, to a certain level of acceptability, then don't play the game. Period. End of story.
Yeah. Aren't you glad that we graduated from this?
What's that?
The Bears field, Soldier Field.
Oh, yeah.
They got it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of the things Matt Eberflus has done very well, actually.
Yeah.
Was he got that new field put in play there.
Have they changed the field, the Jets and the Giants field at all? Have they redone the surface or?
Not to my knowledge. I know that when the World Cup comes here, they're subbing out the turf or the field turf up there for grass. And then when football season starts up again, they're going to put the original turf back.
How did the Giants and the Jets actually put their own guys on that field if it's that bad?
I don't know.
And by the way, Troy Aikman, I just want to say, Troy Aikman said he would have preferred to seen Caleb Williams play a few snaps.
I know you've mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah. Just want to say that, if we're allowing Troy to, convince us of things, I just want that to be.
We'll get him next Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday and noon. Isn't that a nooner?
It is noon game.
I revolt against the lack of acknowledgement of the nuance of the conversation. If you want to take my words, and
who wasn't nuanced about it, though?
I think there are a lot of people that aren't nuanced about it. That they just look at it and they say, "You guys are meatballs. Why would you want the guys to go out there and get hurt?"
Caleb doesn't throw for 5,000 yards this year. The Bears need to reconsider and draft a new quarterback next year.
Mm-hmm.
Sight unseen.
Hugely disappointed.
All right, I'm giving you guys a crystal ball here. You get to, in advance, see one statistic from Caleb Williams' season. Which one would you like to know right now?
Wins.
Touchdown to interception
ratio.
ratio.
Wins are not a quarterback stat.
Touchdown interception ratio.
But you're getting two there, by the way you're doing that there.
It's a
kind of.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I mean,
you as the analytics guy should know that.
You
got two. Yeah,
you could get 2-1 though.
Yeah, so you could get the ratio.
You get the ratio. Yeah, you don't.
That's what I'm getting is the ratio. I want to know the ratio, whether it's 40 touchdowns to 20 interceptions or it's 10-5. I want to know.
You don't get numbers. I want touchdowns.
I don't. I want touchdown interception ratio. That's what I want.
All right, to the
But
White
again,
Sox.
that could be in over 5 games. He could go, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Correct.
And then get hurt. I want touchdowns. So if he throws for 32 touchdowns, I know, man, the offense was firing. Give me touchdowns.
Yeah, what if he threw for 32 touchdowns and 30 interceptions and had himself a Peyton Manning
What's
season?
the object of football?
To win.
And to score. It's to score points.
To win.
Of course it is, but who wins? The team with more points.
That means defensively you got to hold the other team to fewer points.
Of course you do. It's a good question there, Tyler. Like any other, are we thinking of any other stat Like, is there a sneakier stat that we were not thinking
But
of?
again, if he throws 28 touchdowns and 27 interceptions, how are you going to feel about that?
The only problem with your ratio is that obviously it doesn't account for injury. So
It doesn't account for
you
anything.
you might find out that he might reveal that it's a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio.
That is fine, but as I just said,
but he
I
might have
poked
only played in one game because of injury.
Doesn't tell you anything.
I just poked a hole in your theory as well, though, because if you throw for 30 touchdowns, but you throw for 30 interceptions, you didn't have a good year.
2-to-1 could mean 2-to-1. It could be 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
30 touchdowns could also mean you threw 40 interceptions.
I get it.
But if he throws for 40 touchdowns, you're still going to feel pretty good.
Not if you throw 42 picks.
That's never happened before.
I don't care.
What is the high on interceptions in the season?
I think it's like 35.
What did Jameis have
Yeah,
when he did
Jameis
the 30-30?
He led
Yeah.
the league in both, didn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
I think Vinny Testaverde threw for like
and threw for 5,000 yards, I think, in that season.
I think-
Jameis
he's a
has
good
thrown,
example.
Jameis has thrown for 5,000 yards more than once.
Well, he should be your poster child for the dumb cap take on the 4,200 yards being a huge disappointment if he doesn't
Did you
throw
just
for
give
that.
Cap a take that?
Well, yeah, it's a dumb statement that it doesn't matter on yards.
George Blanda threw 42 interceptions in 1962. That's the record.
Those games in black and white, like
How many
And he's a
touchdowns did
Hall
he
of
throw?
Famer.
And Vinny Testaverde threw 35 and 88. That's the second most
Yeah.
ever.
all right, real quick.
How many touchdowns did Vinny throw in that year?
In 1988 for the Bucks, it was not a lot. It was a bad year. I think he had like 17 or something.
Real quick, I want to share this one about the White Sox here because there
Who are
was
these White Sox you
a
speak of?
report. By the way, Pedro Grifol has met the media, so he is still with the team. There's your Pedro Grifol update. On foul territory yesterday, Dan Hayes from The Athletic gave a little bit of insight on that the Twins were trying to get in on the Eric Fetty sweepstakes, but then the White Sox went back to him and basically implied that there is an AL Central tax on this.
Can we talk about this next?
Sure.
I want to talk about this next. And the Cubs won 2 today. Let's talk a little baseball. Then we'll do what to watch for at the 6 o'clock hour as we start 6. But yeah, so what would your reaction be if the Sox could have gotten more for Eric Fetty in the division, and they went away from that and they took this offer? 312-332-3776. I'm adamant about how I feel about this. We'll get to that next.